So guys, I want to do another tough video and I want to talk about why I don't celebrate my birthday with my family. And I do want to say that sometimes in life, we have to do things that just feel right for us. There are plenty of people who get married, like my aunt and uncle, and they just didn't have a wedding with the family. And, my grandmother was buried like 2 years ago. So she just didn't want a big fancy funeral, like because obviously she knew that how expensive it is. But there's certain like traditions that we create and we do for ourselves because that makes us feel happy. Or sometimes we do it because we're a little selfish, or sometimes we do it because we want to do right by others. Really. So I don't celebrate my birthday for a couple of reasons. Like the main reason was because I was adopted out of an abuse and neglect situation. And I always kind of felt in my life that how I was kind of raised was to forgive my biological mother for the abuse and neglect that she did. Like she smashed the glass bottle across my brother's face. Me and my brother weren't potty trained, until like we're like around 3 or 4 years old. We weren't clean and whatever really. And then also too, we were kind of taught to forget to give her forgiveness and other things like that. And I mentioned before that sometimes when it comes to children being abused by a woman, where the boys are taught to forgive the woman, but if it's a man abusing a daughter, other way around really, because we're always taught that women need understanding when some women need to be checked for their behavior. Really, that was one of the main reasons. The other big reason is also because of some past bad birthdays. Like I remember like one year, I had a birthday, and I know this is kind of petty, but I remember like it was like September 11, 2000. I was born on the 27th, but I remember this was after 9/11, and I remember like my dad, like I wanted to stay home and play video games all my day, and I remember my dad ripping open my bedroom door. He's like, "Turn off that fucking video game system. We're gonna go down to New York City and we're gonna visit your grandmother." So we did that. We were stuck in traffic for a couple of hours. And the other thing too was that I remember like my dad went to a massage parlor, not Asian massage or anything sexual, but he like made me and my brother sit in a car for like 2 hours. And also, the other thing that happened on my birthday, that birthday, was that my aunts and uncles would always give me like checks and stuff like that. My dad would never cash it because he was lazy, so he would like, "Oh well, that fucking sucks." And I remember my dad burping loud after he did that. And I remember also my dad also, my brother got me a birthday gift, and what he did was he got me Sonic Adventure 1 instead of Sonic Adventure 2, the video game they want. And the reason why he got me the video game I didn't want was because he wanted me to sit and watch me play the game, really. So it would be almost like I'm really into Japanese anime, so it's almost like my brother wanted a specific anime, and I got him something that I liked, really. So it was really just selfish people, and I was always taught, what, be grateful or type of thing, really. So that's how I was kind of raised, really. So, and sometimes you have parents that teach you disappointment, like they want to intentionally give you a bad experience or a bad birthday to teach you, the humility of you don't get what you want, really. But the problem is that it's just not good, really, because it's almost like I have my parents. I'm not my dad had his 50th birthday while I was in college, and I remember that I intentionally did not go to it because I was up in Vermont. My parents were down in Connecticut, and I was like, I'm not going out of my way for that. So it's almost like, and part of it was almost because of that birthday that I had when I was, 14 years old, really, where it's almost like, what, if you're going to make me do what if you're gonna like take my birthday and do whatever the hell you want with it, and teach me to be grateful and just be cursing and saying that fucking sucks and fuck this, fuck that, type of thing, really, then it's not a birthday that, why should I do that for other people's birthdays? The other thing that I will say is that I remember like when I came home from college one year. Mind you, my parents make over $100,000. I remember my younger brother got like an Xbox for his birthday, and also we would do something like where we would have parties for him. So my dad buy inflatables. Be really spending maybe like over $1,000. So I remember one birthday I came home from college, and my dad said something like, I'm gonna make you a birthday dinner, but the budget is $20. So I remember like saying, what a cheap bastard and all that, because again, as I said, you make somebody over 100 grand, you make over 100 grand, you spend like over $1,000 on one kid. With me, you're telling me the budget's $20, and the reason why you wanted to do that is teach me that, you're a poor broke college student, and we're gonna like have that for your birthday. Really, the next thing you know, my dad's going to, and it's also because my dad also said stuff like he didn't want to go out and he didn't want to spend money on a big dinner. Really, so what a cheap bastard. And it's almost like why a lot of people don't like celebrating their birthdays, because sometimes they have relatives who are a bunch of cheapskates or cheap bastards, and that was that situation. Really, like again, I had my 30th birthday. In a few years, I'm going to have my 40th birthday. So do I really want to hear something like, oh, well, you know what? You're living, like, I live with my brother. I pay him rent. But would I like it? And my dad was like, okay, for your 40th birthday, since you're living on your own, we're going to go to the soup kitchen all together. Or we're going to, we're going to spend $10 on your birthday, really, just to teach you how to like how to ration, like what great what a great dish, how great a birthday you can have with like $10 worth of food. Like I know you can get a couple of spices, you can make some like really good rice or something like that, really, or you can just like buy a lottery ticket, hope you get like $25 or more money out of that type of thing, really. But the point of it is, that's also kind of disrespectful in a way, because I remember another time we had a rule in our house where if you did not buy a Christmas gift or you did not buy a birthday gift, you didn't get any gifts for your birthday or Christmas, to teach you not to be selfish. And I remember, like, one year my brother had a birthday and my parents didn't get him anything, and we didn't get him, and I didn't get him anything because he didn't get us anything for our birthdays, and we were kind of taught to teach other people to think about others, really. And that's kind of a little harsh, because also the other issue was two things. That number one, we didn't have an allowance, and then our thing too says sometimes we didn't spend our own birthday money on gifts for other family members, so we would get something nice for our birthdays. And then also on top of that, the other big thing about that was just that me and my brother were misdiagnosed with autism. So it's almost like teaching the autistic kid, if you don't think about others, nobody's thinking about you, really, which is just a very, very harsh. But also our parents were that type of person. If I asked them for $50 or $20 to spend on a birthday gift, my parents would go into conniptions and act like it's World War III, because of how cheap they are, really. So that's also not good when you have rules like that growing up, really. Like, honestly, you're expecting an 8 or 9 year old to save their birthday money and Christmas money to buy gifts for other people, because you're going to like not give them anything because you expect something from them every single year to teach them manners and respect. Really, that's not cool. I also remember, I'm trying to think through it, that there, like, I think the last birthday I celebrated with my family, that I remember, like, I was in college. I came home, it was like my freshman year of college, and I remember how my younger brother was screwing around and my older brother was screwing around. So my dad kind of was shouting at both of them to cut the shit, really, and it was kind of like it killed the movie. But I was like, saying, Matt, you need to be in the fucking real world, because my brother kept asking me questions about Beavis and Butthead, and my younger brother kept doing things like joking around or running around the house, or doing things like, or like sometimes with my brother was saying something crazy, my younger brother would be like, other things like that, like trying to get into his business. So there's always like a sense. So it's always, so my dad had to like kind of like curse really loud at both of them, and then just snap his finger and be like, okay, everybody, we're gonna continue with the birthday like nothing happened, really. But like my dad had to kind of, just be like, kind of rude, loud, disrespectful, cursing up a storm, really. Mind you, from my grandma and other people, like, so it's always kind of like what I've been saying about my family, like selfish people, disrespectful people, rude, monopolizing a holiday, or being like, I don't give a fuck if it's your birthday. I don't give a fuck if your wife just gave birth. I don't give a fuck if it's a wedding, really. I have no problem cursing and yelling and keeping your other brothers in line, really, when they act like jackasses. So, and then there's a point where you're like, I'm not going to invite the three of you because, you guys have some antisocial issues to work on. I think the next thing is that I've accomplished a lot in my life, really. Like, I was visiting all 50 states. I remember spending one birthday in Honolulu. I remember one birthday I visited all the, all like the skyscraper, not all the skyscrapers, but all like the observation decks in New York City in a day. And I remember another birthday, like this one, I'm going to Memphis. But I also remember another birthday. I forgot what I did, but I remember like I probably did a trip or something like that for one of my other birthdays. But yeah, I've always kind of been like working hard and accomplishing things and just really doing what I wanted to do. Really, so it always seems like a birthday means a lot to me because in my spiritualism and in my beliefs, it's almost like you're passing the baton from your 37th year. I'm going from 37 into 38 really, so it's almost like you're passing the baton to an older version of yourself. You're evaluating your life and you're just looking at your goals and accomplishments. So it's almost kind of like I'm accomplishing something that it's almost like if you have a year of accomplishments and goals. Like I visited all 50 states. I got my passport. I've went to Mexico City. I'm going to Toronto. Um, I'm working with AI. I have second place for the most discharged in my job and other things like that. So it's almost like, now I'm going to Memphis for my birthday, a city I always wanted to go to. So it's almost like, why would I want to do something? And I worked, I achieved my goal working 12,000 hours, which took me a couple of years. But why would I want my birthday to, celebrate with my family where they may be like, hey, you know what, you live on your brother's couch. We're going to talk to your brother about possibly kicking you out of the house. Maybe we should kick you out and be like, okay, the end of October, you're living on your own, really, and you have to pay all your debts, really. When I'm like, $40,000, $50,000 in debt, really. The other part of it is, imagine if my dad was like, okay, well, you know what, even though you do all these things, you got to live on a budget, really. Or I'm not going to get you anything because I haven't thought about you in a couple of years. Or I remember like one of my relatives. My name is Byron, but some of my relatives call me Brian or Brandon because they want to make a point that you haven't been around the family for a couple of years, so we're going to call you Brian and Brandon. So imagine if I had a birthday cake and it says like Happy Birthday Brandon or Happy Birthday Brian or Happy Birthday Robert, because some people think some relatives think my name is fucking Robert because they just want to prove a point that since you're not around a lot, I don't care to remember you, to teach you to call my dad every Sunday morning, to teach you to not do overtime, go down to New Jersey and hang out with my relatives. If you're gonna teach me to be a good family man by disrespecting me, I'm not gonna take that shit. Because as the old saying goes, if I did any of that, like my father's name is Kevin, so if I called him Christopher, and my other father's name is Charles, but I would call him, Roderick, I'll probably get smacked in the face twice for disrespecting my parents. But it's like, that's how I was kind of taught in many ways, which was, the respect and disrespect that I show matters, but the respect and disrespect people show me don't matter. I remember one time for Christmas, my dad got me, my brothers, really nice gifts, but he got me nothing for Christmas because he wanted to kind of hurt my feelings to teach me to come home for Christmas and spend Christmas with him. And be like, what, yeah, you're never around, so I just got you nothing because I wanted to just, hurt your feelings enough for you to go home and be like, oh, well, you know what, I want to be with the family or whatever, really, So I just, understand that there's taking advantage. Like, why should he get me something and me give him nothing, really? Or why should, he grace me with something when I'm not going to be around, really? But it kind of goes through a lot of what I've talked about, like this harshness. Oh, I meant one birthday, I took a trip around America. I went from New Haven to Los Angeles, from Los Angeles to New Orleans, to New York City. But the point of it was that really, like when you also have people who just don't give you gifts because they want to teach you tough lessons about being home, being there for family, and doing all that other crap. I get it. I get why that's important, but ultimately when you're going to hurt feelings or disrespect somebody to teach them respect, that never really works really. So, that's why I celebrate my birthday on my own, really. Like it's a big day for me because I work really hard. I care about developing myself. There's some antisocial shit I got to work on. But if you're going to be around people that are not going to treat it like a big deal, or you're going to be around people that are just going to be passive aggressive bitches, then why, oh, why should I just, celebrate my birthday with people, even if it's family, and just, just digest some disrespect, really? I don't think I would want that.